Hey everybody, welcome to Do You Believe on Paranormal Zone TV. Hey, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. For those who may be new to the show, if you would please subscribe, I'd appreciate it. And don't forget to give the show a like. Now tonight I'm so excited. We had another show scheduled and it has been rescheduled for December, sometime in December 28th, I believe. But Vanessa is so excited, and I am too, because we are doing an update on the Cropsey murder cases in Staten Island. But before we start that, my guest again is Vanessa Hogel. She is an author, a remote viewer, and an automatic drawer. But Vanessa, with that, honey, thank you for coming on the show. And would you give tell the viewers a little bit more about yourself, please?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, Vanessa Hogel. And I am, like Noreen said, an automatic drawer, a remote viewer, paranormal investigator, author, mom first and foremost. And I've got about 42 years experience doing this, talking to dead folk. And been doing it since I was 2. I am 45, so 43 years. Jeez, 43 years. And it's become a real big part of my life, and especially when we talk about cases like this, when you do what I do and what so many others do. Again, I'm not special. When you do what we do, you can't help but sink your teeth into things like this and try to get to the meat and bones of it and figure out what the fuck has gone on.
Very exciting.
And that's what we're doing. Me and the girls are threefold.
Awesome. So with that, what you want to go over what our show is tonight? The show is the update of Cropsey, that you found out more information. Now, and you know, what I wanted to tell you, Vanessa, was I own that video. I bought it off of Voodoo. And the thing about it is, what you're going to talk about tonight, I never even really paid any attention to. I never, because they had captured or arrested Andre Rand, who they said was guilty of some of these these murders, and possibly those that have gone missing in Staten Island. That's all you think about it. You don't think about anything else. So let's go into the story.
Okay, if you don't mind, real quick, I want to kind of talk about why I wanted to go even deeper into this today.
But those who don't know the case.
Okay.
Let's start with the case.
Alrighty, will do. For those who don't know the case, starting in around the 1970s, a little bit before, there were missing persons cases popping up, and anywhere from adult women to young female children to adult males with the mentality of teenagers. There's a whole full spectrum of missing person cases on Staten Island. And what was ironic about it is with zero physical evidence, a particular person was charged and convicted of not one, but 2 of these crimes, one of which a body was found, the other not. As far as the rest of them, none of their bodies are found. Now, I am not, nor is Threefold, in any way, shape, form, or fashion claiming that Andre Rand is an innocent man in its entirety. He is not a good man. He has committed crimes. He does need to be away from society. That having been said, there is very strong circumstantial evidence that he is not the culprit in these particular crimes. And I use the word circumstantial because that was exactly what he was convicted on. So if you can be convicted on circumstantial evidence, it is just as likely that additional circumstantial evidence leading in another direction could be used to actually find the correct perpetrator, or plural, perpetrators. Okay? So, I mean, that is something that we really, really need to look into. And what we have found since we went to Staten Island, when I got to go in July, which was the 36th anniversary of Holly Ann Hughes' disappearance. That was totally a fluke or destiny, whichever way you want to look at it. That date was not planned. It was honestly the cheapest ticket I could get. The cheapest 2 one-way tickets I could get. That's why I went that weekend. It just so happened to be on the 36th anniversary. From what we gathered there during our paranormal investigation to what we gathered there in a criminal sense to what we have found out since coming back, in all honesty, if you look at this with an unbiased eye, it blows the entire thing wide open and makes people question why in the hell nobody looked in this direction then.
Well, you know, honey, you know, the detective that was on this case, actually, they knew about the satanic stuff that was happening in those woods. But they didn't go any further, and they investigated when they questioned Andre Rand. They felt that he had no connection with those kind of people. That's what they said in the documentary. So they just blew it off.
Therein lies the question. Therein lies the question. That is what I want every single viewer to ask themselves right now is, why was it only relevant if Andre Rand had connections to the satanic cults? Why is that the only reason that would be relevant?
Well, there's another thing as well. I believe they needed to find a suspect. And because, actually, I'll show a picture to the viewers. When they arrested Andre Rand, he was like a lunatic, and you know, and he was drooling. He was like, there
is a reason for that.
Okay, so what is
reason for that?
And
yes,
and he was easy. He was an easy suspect, although he was convicted of a child molesting at one point. He has a record.
He has a record of that. Yes. And this is what we have asked on every single show we have done. And I have yet, and please, if there is anybody out there that can tell me that this is not a 1 in a million phenomenon, what I'm trying to figure out is how, and these are the accusations placed against him. And again, this is not to exonerate Andre Rand. This is to open the eyes that there is possibly something or somebody else involved. I am trying to figure out how you can have a heterosexual, homosexual, pedophiliac, and a necrophiliac in the same body. Because that's what they're claiming. Heterosexual, homosexual, pedophile, necrophiliac. How is that possible? How is it possible for somebody who is extremely socially inept, not very bright, has very few friends, if any? Now, you have people saying they were friends of Andre Rand. You don't have Andre Rand saying he had any friends. And he was, I cannot find one instance on the internet anywhere that he had a group of people he hung with. Or that he was ever seen with anybody else. He was very much a solitary individual.
No.
You know? So, if that is the case, then why did these people come forward saying, oh, I knew him, he was my buddy. You know, he was kind of out there. And for somebody to be so socially inept and, like I said, not very bright, how did all those bodies just completely go missing?
Well, also,
how did he do it all those years?
Well,
you're talking about something that spans from 1972. 1972, the first one that they were trying to tie to him, to 1987.
Well, there was a body, and I don't know. There was a body they were searching for, and when they had searched the area, the campsites where Andre hung out, and they knew his campsite, and the others that other homeless that were there, this body could not be found. And then they researched that area, and there's the body. It shows up. So that's suspicious right there. In a place
that was already very well searched.
Who was the body? Do you remember who that body was?
Jennifer Schwager.
Oh, her. Okay, let me show a picture of her. Mm-hmm. Was it Jennifer?
It was Jennifer, and to my understanding, the cases that they have tried to attach to Andre Rand, she would have been the last victim. Not the last person to go missing on Staten Island. That is extremely important, and people need to understand that. Not the last person to go missing on Staten Island. Just the last person to be tied to him in that way. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to give you a list of names, list of ages. And I want y'all to just think about this yourself, the ones supposedly tied to Andre Rand. What they are loosely tied. Ethel Atwell, she was 47 years old. She was came missing, actually, let's start younger. Alice Pereira. She went missing on July 7th, 1972. I believe she was 5. Then you have Ethel Atwell, 47 years old, went missing October 24th, 1978. Audrey Nuremberg, 1977. She was 18 years old with 1977 in July. 18 years old with the mentality of a 14-year-old. Then you have...
Oh, excuse me for one... Okay, Vanessa, one moment. Weren't all these victims mentally handicapped in some way?
Not all.
90% of them, weren't they?
About 90%, yes. Which leads us in to another extremely important question, okay? Something that, again, through all of our research, not just mine, not just Julia's, and not just Rachel's, we have other people working on this as well. We cannot find anything that states that Andre Rand was fired from Willowbrook Hospital. Not one thing.
Well,
it says that he worked there for a few years, but it doesn't say that he was fired.
But he was a young man, though. I mean, he was young in that. Julia sent me a picture of him. I guess he was an aide to one of the doctors.
It depends on what site you look at. He is considered an orderly, a doctor's aide, and a physical therapist. Uh-huh. So it depends on who you're looking at. I'm going to go with orderly. Just because that seems to fit what his job duties were a little bit better. That having been said, at the final points in time at Willowbrook, you had a patient to doctor ratio of 50 to 1. So there might have been people working double or even triple duty because their patient load was so severe, so extreme, that other people who might not have patient interaction would have to have patient interaction in order to just be able to even do the most minimal of care for these poor people. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now that he was let go, fired, released in any way. If Andre Rand had a penchant for children or anybody that had any type of mental or physical handicap, he was sitting on the mother load of it right there at Willowbrook with too many patients to doctor or nurse even, or caregiver at all, too many patients to caregiver ratio that nobody would have noticed had anything have happened.
Vanessa, can I ask you a question? Was he just working there, or was he institutionalized?
He was working there.
Okay.
He was working there. So he had complete and total access to any patient, really, when you're talking about such a severe ratio. No one would have noticed. They would have only thought he was probably helping, in all honesty. But yet I can't find one account of any claims against him during that time. Not one. Now, if that's what your gig is, if that's what you enjoy, if you're that sick and twisted that is the type of victim you go for, that's your MO, and you're sitting literally on a keg full, why do you leave? And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
It comes back to that picture, that famous picture of him being walked out, arm in arm with the cops, the drool coming down his face. Everybody said, oh, he's a madman. And
right.
he is. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking up for him at all. He is not somebody I would ever want around any children ever. But let's call a spade a spade. If people actually do the research and they go back and they research that photo and they look at the footage that was where that photo was talked about in different documentaries and news reports, they will know that those two detectives had just showed Andre Rand the video, I believe it was, that Geraldo Rivera had did on his expose, showing what it was actually like at Willowbrook. And they said, this person, excuse me, this Andre Rand, who was talking to them at the time, the second they asked him, would you like to see the footage? And he said yes. And they sat him down on the bed, one on either side of him. They put the tape in, they showed it to him, and he broke. And he started rocking and crying. Rocking and crying. And he kept saying, I believe these words were, and people can go back and watch the documentary and correct me if I'm wrong, but they weren't the only victims. We were victims too, because of what they had to endure, what they had to see, what they couldn't control. That covers all doctors and nurses that, had any kind of heart in that place, knowing that there was absolutely no feasible way they could take care of thousands of children and young adults and adults who had mild to severe mental handicaps and physical handicaps. You're talking about a place where they were, I think Geraldo Rivera said, he goes, I can tell you what it looked like, I can tell you what it sounded like, but how can I tell you what it smelled like?
Yeah.
That is almost a direct quote from Geraldo Rivera.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
that is something that people need to consider. They see that picture, they see Madman. What they don't know is what transpired 5 minutes before that picture. And he didn't speak for 3 days after that. Does that change your view on that photo now?
Not mine. I still think he's
a guilty son of a bitch on many things. Our point, Noreen, and what we're trying to get people to understand is we're not claiming he's an innocent man. What we're saying is there is a very real possibility that there is something of a much greater scope involved.
Absolutely. And he may not have been guilty of those murders, except the molestation of that one little, was she 9 years old or something? That's the only thing that they got him on. Now, the thing is, the police on Staten Island knew those woods were used for satanic rituals. I have a picture. Where's that picture? Let me see if I can find it. Oh my gosh, where's that picture? I have a picture showing the wall that, oh God, it's so small I can't see it. All right, if I can find it, I'll show that picture with the wall of the, oh, here it is. It's right here. It's right there in the woods.
Yeah, I was there. Julia was there. Rachel was there.
Did you see that wall?
We saw many walls.
All right.
We know what that
so
place
do you?
is like.
What do you think? Do you think do you think it's just maybe a cover up, or they just wanted to present, like, again, a suspect because the whole community was up in arms and they wanted somebody arrested. They wanted somebody found guilty of the murders and the disappearances. Now,
I believe that every bit of that is correct. I believe cover up. I believe scapegoat. And again, to reiterate, he's not an innocent man. But conviction of one does not mean guilty of all. That's what we're trying to get at. There have been people who have tried to come forward in the past. I believe her name was, I think it was either Veronica or Victoria. It's in my notes. Her last name was Lucan.
Oh.
She is deceased now, so I can actually...
I have a picture of her.
Yes. She died of cancer. I think it was in 2005.
1995.
She tried to warn people.
1995, honey, she
1995,
died.
yeah. She tried to warn people of what was going on Staten Island.
But first of all, tell the... because I do have clips. Hold on. I have clips. So, screen caps. So tell them first about... She had this... What did they started this a religious organization or the religious shrine for her?
No, she was actually a member of a religious sect in her own right.
Okay.
I believe it was Roman Catholic. And she was known for her visions. I mean, she was recognized for her visions. This was not a fly-by-night person, okay? And she did try to warn. She did try to let people know. She even told them of a vision that she had of being laid out on a slab and being stabbed. And for whatever reason, it was blown off. Now, thank goodness she did not perish in that way. But for whatever reason, it was blown off. That having been said, she was then, according to many resources, placed on a hit list for speaking out against the cults that inhabit Staten Island. And I can say that with much conviction because it was confirmed by a retired detective, Frank Sayers, in the Cropsey documentary. It was confirmed that the person who runs that, the head honcho guy, for lack of a better word, of the cults that are there, has lived on Staten Island for decades.
Right.
He said it, not my words, folks. He said it. So you can't get mad at me. All right?
Oh.
Not only did he say that the guy has lived on Staten Island for decades, he went on to say that no police department has ever deemed it necessary to investigate him, regardless of reports. He went on to say that being a Satanist, pretty much the same as being a Catholic. You know, Catholics believe in God and Mother Mary, whatever, and or Jesus, and Christians the same, and Satanists, well, they believe in the devil. And all the while saying this, chuckling. He went on to be asked by others, by somebody actually asking the questions to him, if any type of cult activity, you know, would it happen in a house or the woods? He said, it could happen in the house. It could happen in the woods. The interviewer went on to ask him, could it happen at Willowbrook? It could happen at Willowbrook, or at the abandoned hospital, I think is what he called it. The investigator went on to, or the interviewer went on to ask him, do you know if they ever use children? And his exact response was, I choose not to answer that question.
Yeah.
Now, Noreen, I'm not making that up.
No, I know. I own the documentary. I own the documentary. I know. With his own words, he said that on camera.
Our detective Frank Sayers said, I'm not going to answer that. My question is, first off, how can you get away with that? Secondly, why did that not send off red flags and warning bells to everybody once that came out?
Well, Vanessa, they have pictures in, I believe it's in the abandoned buildings that are still standing in Willowbrook. I don't know if you saw them or not, of the Satanic altar, of an area that they made into a church, a Satanic ritual church, and some other pictures. They have that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you want to know more about it, check out retired detective, New York City detective Paul Raganese. He wrote a book called The Soul of a Cop. He wrote this book after finally retiring from being a cop, and actually went on to discuss things that he had to snuff or cover up that happened out at Willowbrook due to pressure from the local law enforcement.
Well, also, Vanessa, tell them there was a letter sent. Here, I'm going to show a little piece of it. I couldn't get it all. That Andre
Andre asked them about the satanic cults.
Yeah.
And the cop went on to say, well, we couldn't find a connection to Andre Rand with the satanic cults, so they didn't pursue it any further. And this is what I find fascinating is in that letter, or it wasn't a letter, if we're speaking about the same thing, it was actually a dictation of the conversation between Andre Rand and the police officer.
Well, it wasn't. It was a document in writing, and I don't know how that document. If they actually, I think, was it from an interview that they had gotten this from?
It's a written account of an interview, and it was Andre asking them if they had checked out the satanic cults on Staten Island, and because they couldn't find a connection with him to them, they didn't. When he was asking them, not, hey, don't look at me, but have you looked at this? What people don't know, and I'm getting ready to blow your mind here, we have 2 witnesses.
What?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me finish with this letter, though, this information that they have in writing, that they had checked out the murders and whatever, and in part of it that I was able to capture, they're talking about Satanic, that yeah. Yes, and that Andre gave these kids to the coven.
That's what some people believed, yes.
And they call it Black Mass.
Mm-hmm. Now, again, I also want to let people know this. When we talk about something like this, I am not going to sit here and say that anybody who thinks along those lines, that might be an atheist, an agnostic, a Satanist, anything like that, I am not placing judgment on anybody unless they're doing sacrificial stuff. And that's unacceptable. Then I'll judge you all damn day long. I don't give 2 shits what you think. But I'm not saying that every single person out there that believes in Satanism would do these acts. Fact of the matter is, it has been brought up by many people on Staten Island that this is something that needs to be looked deeper in. What a lot of people don't know, Rachel Rodbell of Threefold, she lived after the fact in the same apartment building that Alice did. Hank Gaforia, he lived on the same block as Julius Yakuza.
And Hank Gaforia, yeah. He was one, and also was he about 14, and he went missing as well.
No, he was 21, 21, 22, with the mentality of a 15-year-old.
Okay.
And here's the thing. I mean, I have a 14-year-old son. He might have the mentality of a 15-year-old at 21. Hank did, but it doesn't mean he was incapable of understanding things. Does it mean he might have been impressionable? Yes. But, like I said, I have a 14-year-old son. Could he be impressionable? Yes. Does he have a diminished capacity mentality? Absolutely not. So, that's one thing that we need to look at as well, because in one of the pieces of footage, when they were talking about Jennifer Swagger, I believe it was Holly Ann Hughes. When they're talking about Holly Ann Hughes, Hank is in the background.
Yeah.
Of the video.
Yeah.
He's in the background of the video. What was he doing there?
Right.
That's something that people need to ask themselves. He's one that went missing. What was he doing there? And I don't mean way back here in the background. I mean the interviewer is right here, and he's right here.
Right. I saw that.
Close-up screen right there. There are so many loose ends to this investigation that when you're watching the documentary and you watch Andre Rand's lawyers, you see every reason in the world why they're confident. And because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that that the only body found is the one that he's convicted on, and that the next time he's convicted, I believe it's 3 years before he's going to be released, on a body that was never found, and there's not one shred of physical evidence. Not one. And if this makes people question things a little bit further, Noreen, I already know you know about this, but just in case you have new viewers and they don't, when we were in Staten Island, we had the opportunity to have a closed meeting, closed interview with somebody who was extremely close to the original case, extremely close to an individual that was part of the original case. This particular individual, we could not videotape him or audio tape him, but he did meet us in public, which I found fascinating. I'm like, wow, I can't believe you want to do that, but okay, considering how we were treated on Staten Island. So we met this person on South Beach in Staten Island, and he did exactly what we expected, because, you know, we are who we are. He did exactly what we expected and tried to lead us on a wild goose chase, not knowing we knew what we knew. He was one of the last people that we spoke with, so not knowing everything we knew, he tried to send us on a wild goose chase. And I asked him, I said, what would you do if I told you I know where some of the bodies are? And he looked at me and he goes, where? And I told him. And he says, oh no, but he got that look, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He says, oh no, I'll tell you right now, if you go search such and such, you're going to find them. I thought that was kind of interesting, so I let him go ahead and put one foot in the grave right there, and I let him just keep talking. And all of us girls were thinking the same thing, because we're pretty connected that way. And so we let him dig a little bit deeper, and then I asked him again, I said, so you're saying if we went here, we would find those bodies? Oh, yeah, absolutely you would. Okay, keep talking. You know, let him keep talking. A couple minutes later, I came back to it, and I said, did the police ever search there? And he just kind of looked at me, and he got that little startled look on his face. And up until this time, we'd been real sweet, real nice, real charming. And he says, well, I have to assume they did. And, you know, that's just when we turned it on. I said, well, then I find it very difficult to believe that if I go to such and such, I'm going to find any bodies 36 years after the fact. Wouldn't you agree? And he just kind of looked at me. And it was at that point, we asked him, we said, and what we would really like to know, because we have searched everywhere, why is there not one single monument, plaque, anything on this island that we can find commemorating the lives of these children and young adults who just disappeared into thin air? Why is there nothing that shows any type of memoriam to their life? I said, especially Holly Ann Hughes. She was 7 years old, literally disappeared off the street corner at 9:30 at night. And these were his exact words to me. And this is why this is so important, and why we were fussing and pushing and screaming and being the angry women that we are about this, okay? He said these words. Holly Ann Hughes was a poor little white girl. Who was going to care?
Oh, my God.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am. At that point, Rachel and I got up and went to the bathroom because I was going to break my foot off in something.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm a mother. Rachel's a mother. Julie is a mother. And those words were said to our face.
And did you say anything back to him?
I had to get up and leave. I was going to get arrested. I had to. And that is why we take this so seriously. Because just like he thought it was okay to say those words to three mothers, a retired detective thinks it's okay to laugh and say, I refuse to answer that question in regards to children. That is a problem.
Yeah.
He said, we have dug and dug and dug, and we actually have two witnesses to particular activities on Willowbrook. That's going to be interesting to have videotaped. Their take on what they witnessed with their own eyes in regards to particular cult activity.
These two witnesses that you were, how did you find the two witnesses?
It's amazing how people come forward when they know you're trying to actually do some good.
So people over in Staten Island found out that you were researching this case?
There have been some that have found out we were researching this case and actually want to help. Then there are those, even on Staten Island, who think that it's okay to threaten us.
You got threatened? You were threatened?
Yeah.
Oh my God. What did they say to you?
Letting us know that they're always watching us, that we should drop it, not kick a dead dog. Yeah. Yeah, if we know what's good for us.
I have another question.
Yeah.
What the process, let's see, the process church of the final judgment, what is the connection with that in the in Staten Island?
It is a very long and drawn out connection.
How did you find out about that? I went over to their Facebook page and I was really scared.
Should be.
So what is what?
There are many different connections. There are many different sects. And when I say sects, I mean SECTS. There are different levels of involvement. This is not something that is new. You can trace a lot of this back to around 1940. Oh. I'm not kidding.
Well, the church, this church actually started in London, and they came out into San Francisco.
London.
Huh?
Mary Ann came from London.
Oh yeah. Well, they said. Well, I had read that it started in London, and then it moved out into San Francisco, and then branched out.
Yeah, and there, like I said, there was many levels of involvement, kind of like certain secret orders that I won't actually name on here.
But I want to know about this church. I want to know about this. What do you, from what I saw, what is with this church? They do satanic rituals and all that?
That is what people are saying. I have not seen it for myself. Obviously, I live in Oklahoma. But that is what people are saying, and that is one of the things that Mrs. Lucan had laid claim to and said was going on. And that's one of the reasons why she said she was put on a hit list, was because of her knowledge of what was going on.
Now, so this Veronica, let me show her picture again. This Veronica Lucan, she was alive at the time these were happening. And how did she find out about this? Were these visions just coming to her? She lived on Staten Island?
Yes.
And these visions were just coming to her?
Huh? But she was known for her visions. It's not something that would have been out of the norm. And so for something she was known for, and to be accredited with much, to be discredited for that, or shunned, or frowned upon, or pushed away, or thought to be, oh, she's just being silly, and let's not look into it, that should really tell people something. Why would it be okay for her to have visions of other things, but not this? Why the avoidance of this particular thing? To me, it's always been my understanding that the way the law works, if you have a lead, regardless of how ridiculous it might seem, if it is in regards to missing children, you follow that lead, period. Yet we have a detective saying there was never any reason to investigate the claims of the cults and the possibility of using children. Is that not a lead? Mm-hmm. If I'm misunderstanding the word lead, by all means, help me out here.
All right, I want to get back to these two witnesses that you have. I'm assuming you've interviewed them by now and that you've taped them. Did they allow you to tape them, or they are taped without showing their face?
That is being handled by another individual.
Okay.
And that will be released in the documentary.
All right, so obviously they don't want to be known. I would assume they don't want to get known. Probably fear for their life, maybe. All right, so these two people, they came forward.
Yes.
Are they do they have a child that is missing, or they just know something? They don't. Okay.
They stumbled upon what they saw and witnessed particular acts. Not with a child. I need to make that abundantly clear, because had they have seen that, they would have done something. But no, they witnessed particular acts on the grounds of Willowbrook. One of the very places that detective said, yes.
Okay, so was it satanic stuff, or was it with Andre Rand? It was satanic stuff. Okay, so they witnessed satanic stuff, but did it have any?
A lot of people there have. If you go on the internet, I'm not kidding. If you go on the internet, this isn't how we got our people. Okay, they actually came to us, and it's not anyone that you could find on the internet. But if you go on there, you would not believe the amount of people who claim to have witnessed this. It was even in the documentary. People knew it was going on.
But
they knew.
All right, but these two witnesses, they're just confirming the satanic rituals that are happening on Willowbrook Park, or whatever the grounds are. But does it have anything to do with the missing children?
It was happening after that, which means it was happening before that. Okay. That's what we're trying to get at. You have to look at, if you look at where these children were missing from, it is a relatively small area of land where they all disappeared from. Okay? Alice, Thais, Holly, Jennifer, Hank, where they all disappeared from. It's relatively small. So when you have that amount, that high number of children over a certain amount of time, which they considered Hank a child due to his lower mental age, when you have that many in that short a period of time, that should raise some red flags.
All right, Vanessa, of these disappearances, how many bodies did they find?
One. Jennifer's.
Jennifer. And how many of the children in that time frame possibly connected to Andre Rand, how many are still out there that they haven't found?
Alice, Holly, Hank, Thais. So Alice, Holly, Hank, and Thais. That's 4 right there. Hank is the only one that you really wouldn't consider a child, except for his mental age. And then the rest that they have, this is, like I said, this is interesting. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more people. The last one being in 2009. 2009.
But they would not connect that to Andre Rand.
No, they can't. But they connected the other 2 adult women before the children to Andre Rand, as much as they could. My point in bringing up those other people is that it's still going on, because quite a few of those have mental or physical.
Oh, they also do. So the latest ones as well have the mental disability.
Some.
And they all live on Staten Island.
Yeah.
Do they live within the same vicinity of each other of the cases that were missing, or are they spread out?
The last ones are a little bit spread out. The first ones were in real close capacity.
Where were they last seen? Were they last seen around the park? In that area?
No, not all of them around the park. And even the ones before the children were around the park. And not all of the ones that were missing were around the park. But it's, like I said, if you've never been to Staten Island, it's not huge.
Well,
by any stretch.
Okay, so, all right, well, like Holly, she went to the store to get a bar of soap. Now, in that documentary, the police also stated that there was another little girl that has gone missing, and the same thing the witnesses said with her. She went to go get a bar of soap and was 5 cents short.
No, she didn't go missing.
Oh, she
didn't? She didn't go missing. That was another person who was supposedly at the same store at approximately the same time, purchased the same item, short the same amount of money.
Right.
Now, this is what is very strange. Andre admitted to seeing Holly Ann Hughes that night. He admitted
Yeah.
it. He said she was dirty,
Right.
but she was swimming all day. She was still in her swimsuit.
At 9:30 at night? Was this at 9:30 at night?
9:30 at night, July 15th, 1981.
Well, it would have been summertime.
Said she was filthy, but she was swimming all day and still in her swimsuit. So how was she filthy?
Okay, well, the family, was there a local pool somewhere? Did she swim in a lake or a pond? Huh?
I've been to it. Yeah.
It's a pond?
No, it's a pool. It's a local pool. It's been there. Damn, I think it's been there a long time. It's a very interesting place because it looks very formidable. Where you see it, you don't even know it's a pool. It almost looks like a Freemason's lodge.
Well,
when you walk in front of it, it gave a very odd vibe. You have to walk up to it and go to the back, and the pool is down below, completely surrounded in cement. No way to get dirty like that. No way to get filthy like that.
Okay.
Period.
So this is in the city part.
Uh-huh.
She goes to the store, 9:30 at night. She's still in her swimsuit. It was July, would have been summer in Staten Island, muggy and hot. Daylight probably didn't get dark till 9 o'clock. They send her to a store. How close was the store?
Block away.
Block away. So,
Maybe 2 months.
and what year was this?
1981.
1981. I guess in those days, nothing was happening in the neighborhood, so they weren't afraid. They weren't afraid for their child. So she goes to the store. How close? How and then she did, and there were there any witnesses that saw her?
No witnesses that saw her with him until decade or so, 2 decades later, when people, and this is in the documentary, people, please watch it. Because there's certain documentary we can't put in ours because people won't let us interview them that way. But you have people who the police said, well, yeah, they were alcoholics and drug addicts back then, but they've got their memory back. No, you don't. If you were so whacked out on drugs and alcohol back in the day, when you finally get off that stuff, you don't all of a sudden memory or wiped out because of substance abuse. It doesn't happen that way. Ask any alcohol or narcotics abuse therapist. Ask any one of them, and they'll tell you that you just don't have this rush of memories. The only person who came forward, to my knowledge, and said, I am certain I saw her with Andre Rand that night. The only person said he was wearing a mask. A full face mask.
Wait a minute. Andre was wearing a full face. Then how can they identify him as Andre Rand? Oh.
And it was July in Staten Island. Let me, for those who have never been there, assure you, it's hot as hell.
And muggy as hell.
The
Yeah.
last thing you're going to have on in Staten Island in July is a full face mask. And it's funny because when you watch the documentary and you hear a particular individual, I think she runs Friends of Jennifer Schwager, anyway, one of the people that found that body. When you hear them talk, they are just convinced that he did all of these. Again, not saying he's a good person, but their conviction, not based on fact, is what frightens me. And especially when they hold up a black and white picture talking about the other little girl or the other person that was going to the store that night for soap and was short the exact same amount. And they have a picture taken of that person's store in comparison to the store that Holly Ann went to get her soap. And it's a black and white photo. And it shows a Volkswagen. In the photo, over by the store, they say, yep, see, there he is. That's his green Volkswagen. He came back to look. It's a black and white photo.
How do they know it's green?
Do you know how popular Volkswagens were back then?
Yeah.
My family had one.
So that's the vehicle that Andre drove, was a green Volkswagen. If he,
Yep.
How did he get a license? If he was so mentally...
Your guess is as good as mine. There is so little about him on the internet that is about him and not these cases that it is damn near impossible to find any information that you can use. It's as if he doesn't exist outside these cases.
Mm-hmm. Is he still alive?
Yeah, he won't be eligible for parole until he's 93.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, not a good man, convicted of being inappropriate with a 9-year-old girl. He should stay there.
Yeah.
These cases aside,
Yeah,
that's where he needs to be.
Record, yeah.
But here's my thing. In that documentary, when you go back to watch it, you have so many people saying, we knew he's bad. We did. We knew it. Then why'd you let your kids out? Why? If you knew that when he was working at, I believe it was the Tyson Apartments as a painter, and you knew he was working there, why would you let your kids out to play without parental supervision? If you knew that he was visiting his aunt in the same apartment complex that your 7-year-old daughter was in, why, if you had that, uneasy feeling about him, would you send her out at 9:30 at night to buy a bar of soap?
Okay, give me a time frame. Give me a time frame. When was he arrested?
He was arrested. Jennifer went missing in, was it July? It was June. It was June or July of 1987. He was convicted, I believe, in 1988.
Okay, he was arrested in 1988.
I believe.
Okay.
Arrested or convicted.
All right. So arrested in 1988, and how many disappearances occurred after 1988 in that area?
After 1988, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And the MO is different for everyone, how they disappeared, correct? Each one has a different, they're all different.
I believe with Ethel, who was earlier, there was evidence of a struggle. With her, there was evidence of a struggle because I believe her wallet was left behind, which I can't understand that. Her wallet was left behind, black buttons off of her coat, part of her denture was left behind. So there was evidence of a struggle for Ethel, okay? But for everybody else, it's just like, poof.
All right, so before he was arrested, most of them were younger children.
That they're applying to him, yes.
Right. But wait a minute. So then after 1988, adults were involved in the disappearances now.
Well, what they tried to tie Ethel Atwell, who was 47 to him, Audrey Nirenberg, who was 18 to him, and then you have Alice, who was, I believe, 5 years old, Holly, who was 7, Thais, I think, who was 10, Jennifer, who was 12, Hank, who was 21. All of those they tried to tie to him. And again, this is one of the things, and I'm sure a lot of people understand this, if you're a pedophile, you have a type. You have a type. You generally don't cross genders, for the most part. It's extremely rare to cross genders for the most part if you're a pedophile. You also have a particular age range that you care for, and it's not going to span from 5 to 12. Because it's less about the mental age and more about the physical appearance. And, I mean, you can talk to any criminal profiler and they'll tell you the same thing. And if you have somebody that's attracted to a 5-year-old little girl, they're not going to be attracted to a 47-year-old woman or a 21-year-old man. They're not indiscriminate in that fashion. If it's strictly for murder, it can be all over the place.
Well, they had also said that they thought that he was taking these kids and passing them around to the other homeless in their camp.
There would be some semblance of physical evidence somewhere. Some. We're not talking about rocket scientists here. There is absolutely zero physical evidence that we can find either there or anywhere in any files on the internet of being able to tie anybody who was from any of the campsites on Willowbrook to Andre Rand to anybody else that lived on Willowbrook. There was nothing, not one shred of physical evidence.
So Jennifer Swartz, her body was found.
Jennifer Swagger, her body was found after the area had been searched at least once, if not twice. And then found in a shallow grave, and no death determined. No cause of death determined.
Oh, she was badly decomposed. Were they able to give a time frame of how long she might have been dead?
Nope. Not that we can find anywhere. When she was moved, they kept all the dirt around her body.
I think if that had happened today, things would have been different. They would have come up with an answer. What do you... Okay, so what is the outcome? What are you trying to do now with this Cropsey case? You have two witnesses. Obviously, these two witnesses have seen satanic rituals in that area. What do you think the outcome will be on this with your investigation? Are you still investigating this? Yeah. You're a remote viewer and a psychic, and did you come up with any other images when you were out there in Staten Island? Did you get any voices? Did you get any messages?
Yes.
Can you tell us those?
We actually, and I thought that Rachel had sent you the clip, but we actually have a little girl's voice singing to us on Willowbrook grounds, called The Most Perfect EVP You've Ever Heard. I've done this for so long I can't even remember. Most perfect one I've ever heard. And she perfectly sings Cropsey. Boom. Can't deny it.
Didn't we do that on our first show? I think you gave that to me on the first. I'll put the link to our first show because this is part 2. This is an updated.
Actually, if everybody will go on to Threefold Paranormal 2, they'll be able to see the shortened version of that. I have that clip specifically just to that particular EVP. Even though there are others called in it, but that was just amazing. That was just amazing. And the funny thing is, and what we found, and what everybody has claimed to see on Willowbrook grounds with all of the drifters, and they're saying this, that, and the other, and there's a bunch of druggies out there, and everybody's drinking all the time, and we didn't see one living soul. Not one. Any more than on a beautiful July day in Port Richmond, Staten Island, did we see one child playing. Dead summer.
Did you get any other EVPs that might say, "Oh, he killed me," or a name, or that they were hurt? Did you get any other voices?
Through a pendulum session, we got confirmation that we were looking in the right direction, and through the EMF thing, I don't know the names of those little gadgets that they use. The thing that does the lights that goes from like green to red, I was speaking to Holly, and she was answering through that. We know where she is.
You know where her body is?
We know, yes.
And what have you done about it?
What we're doing right now. Because honestly, and I can't say where it is, it's going to come out in that, there is nothing that can be done about it.
Where her
but
body?
She's still there.
Oh, where her body is, there's nothing, you can't, so she can't be dug up.
No.
Oh God, Vanessa, okay. Is she in a creek or in water? What?
It's heartbreaking. It's very difficult.
Okay. Was she in cement? Did they put her in cement?
She is in a place that I was told there is absolutely no way she could be there because too many people would have been watching. And that has been 100% disputed by somebody that actually used to spend a lot of time there and said that is the perfect place to take some up.
And that's Holly right there.
Yes.
Okay, so is there anything else you can tell us about your updates? You're still investigating this. When is your documentary going to be completed? Probably a while.
We're trying to get it together, but more stuff comes. And again, I hope that everybody knows we're not doing this for us. We're not doing this for financial gain. We're not doing this to gain notoriety for ourselves. We will sell this documentary, and every last fucking dime is going to go to build a memorial or a monument or a placard or anything that Staten Island will let us do right there as a reminder of the lives that these children and these young adults and adults had. There needs to be a daily reminder, and what we're hoping will happen is that people will follow suit in other states, in other towns, in other cities. Because one thing I didn't even get to touch on, but I'm going to leave you with this. We've been doing a lot of research, and according to the Criminal Justice Department, I think this was released in 2003 or 2002, they did a study from 1997 to 1999, basically middle year to middle year. And during that time, over 787,500 people were missing in the United States. 787,500 children, children. That is over 750,000 children. Out of those 750,000 children, 206,000 plus were considered taken by a family member. Okay? Out of that, an additional number was 58,000, I think 200 were taken by a non-family member. So we have 787,000 plus, 208,000 taken by a family member, 58,000 taken by a non-family member, and then it drops down to 150 taken by a stranger. So you understand what I'm saying? That leaves a difference of over 535,000 children unaccounted for, possibly considered runaways in a year's time. If anybody can explain to me how that is possible, that they just disappear off the face of the earth, I would love to know it. And that's what we're trying to stop as mothers. People need to pay attention to their communities. They need to pay attention to the people around them. They need to speak out when it's necessary. They need to listen to their kids when they say, there's some strange people that I've noticed watching me, Mama.
Well, honey, you know, the thing about this is, if these are actual satanic rituals, how are you going to stop that? How are you going to stop this? They go into the woods.
I'll tell you how. And I can't say who this particular person is, or the person that was with her, but there was a time on Staten Island when a little girl, the age of 5, was at a garage with her older brother. And her older brother noticed somebody that they knew that wasn't Andre Rand looking at her funny, looking at her just a little off. And I have a witness to this particular instance. He knew enough to get her out of there at that time. That's what we need, is people to pay attention to those things and not blow them off. We don't want cases where children end up missing and 20 years later people go, yeah, I knew that guy that lived in that building, man, he was off. Then you should have said something.
Oh, honey, do you know so many people will not get involved? That's the problem. They don't want to get involved.
Oh, let me, you know what? Can we venture down a different rabbit hole for just a second, and I'm going to explain to you why you're 100% correct?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Mariah K. Woods, 3-year-old little girl, missing since Sunday in North Carolina. Monday, I looked at her picture, immediately saw the image of a man in my head. I drew the man. Within 5 minutes, I called the sheriff's department. Talked to somebody. They said, let me see if I can get the detective for you. They couldn't get the detective. They took my name and phone number and said they'd have him call me back. That was at my lunchtime, a little bit over, about 1:10. I finished that conversation. As of 5 o'clock, I still hadn't heard anything, so I called the FBI in Charlotte. Called the FBI, talked to the woman there, and I said, can I give you this information, please? Said, you don't have to know anything else about me. You don't, I mean, I'm not looking. She went and looked on the computer and said, as of 2 hours prior to me calling, it was still, all information had to go directly to the sheriff's department there where the 3-year-old little girl was missing, or Crime Stoppers. She couldn't take my information, even though they were investigating with them. Okay? Okay. So I get home, because I called her on my way home. I get home, I call the sheriff's department again. Different phone number. Didn't tell them who I was, didn't tell them I was a psychic or a medium, or even that I had a picture. My only words said were, I have information on the 3-year-old that's missing from North Carolina. Do you want to know what I was told?
What?
I'm sorry, ain't nobody here now. You're going to have to call back tomorrow.
Oh, my God.
True story. So I called Crime Stoppers. Begged them to take my information. Begged them. I said, I don't want anything. Just please, somebody take this picture. Show it to the cops. Have them look to see if anybody that's been in and out of that house in the last 2 weeks looks like this man. I'm not saying he did it, but I'm saying he might have a connection. Please. She couldn't take the picture. I couldn't fax it to her. She had no capability to do that, but she took my name and phone number. Crickets. Nothing. So I finally gave up. Today I did what I said I wouldn't do because I didn't want anyone who looks like this picture to run, get rid of the body, or do anything. I wanted to keep this quiet for the sake of maybe a surprise factor, but I went ahead and just said, you know what, screw it. And I posted it on social media, and said, since I have had absolutely zero luck in getting anybody to pay attention to this picture, or to even want to take it off my hand so I can at least say I tried, I'm putting this out there. If anybody can help me, please. Finally got it taken care of. It took social media.
Oh my God!
Yes.
And any results yet?
I have talked to one person that lives in the vicinity and given this person the rest of my reading, and they were able to confirm certain things that I saw, because I was keeping that private. Because to me, that is for a police investigation. That was not for the public to know.
Uh-huh.
I don't need anything from it. I don't want anything from it. I just want the little girl found. And she was able to confirm quite a bit of what I said, and is making sure that it gets to the right people.
Awesome.
And I am eternally grateful for that.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
But angry.
Yeah. Oh, I can oh my gosh. I understand what you're saying. You know, a lot of the police departments. Well, you know, a lot of police departments, they think you guys are kooks.
Yeah.
You know?
And let them. I don't care. Think I'm crazy. I don't care. I don't care if you think that I am the nuttiest damn fruitcake in the store.
I know, but they're stupid. If they got information, any information, just take it.
Yes.
Jeez.
Just take it. You know? But that was from law enforcement.
Oh. Well, Vanessa, hope you keep me updated. Now, this was a last-minute show, so anytime you want to spring that on me again for another update, oh my God, I'd love to. We'll do it. I'd love to have you on. Now, the show that we originally had scheduled for tonight, Missing and Murdered, it's a fabulous show. I have some, oh my God, some awesome cases. You're not going to believe it. Really creepy, odd cases, and we have in there a 411 case. And that will be shown, we'll go live December 28th for that show, okay?
Okay, I'll have my notebook ready.
Oh my God, I can't wait. And this was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for doing this for us. I appreciate it. Anytime I can help you out. And any more information that you have and that you want to share, hey, you know, I'm always here for you, Vanessa. I love you, girl. Love you too, hon. I appreciate you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks.
All right.
And good luck with that.
Thank you very much. Y'all have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Good night, Vanessa. Okay, everybody, thanks for joining us tonight. We had a nice crowd tonight, so let me do some fast shout outs. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I've been interested in Cropsey, oh my gosh, for like 5 years now. So I love hearing about it. So let me see. Royce sent me a message. Hold on. Let me see what Royce sent me. Oh, and also I want to thank my mod. I know Royce was in there tonight. I don't know. Royce, was there any other mods in here tonight? Royce, honey, was there any other mods in tonight? Let me see. Don't forget to, oh yeah, please, if you're new to the show, if you would please, please subscribe to my channel. We did hit over 26,000 subscribers now. Alright, so let me do some shout outs. Is anybody else in here besides Royce? Oh, okay, honey. Hey, everybody, give a clap to Royce. Because of Royce, we have a wonderful chat room. So who's in here tonight? Aaron Brody, Alexandria Violet, B. Davidson, B3 Airspace, Bridget Harrison, Chippeteri, Darlene Schicksnader, Fran Molino, John Johan Miller, Misty Dawn, Patrice Costello, Royce Hinman, Texas Nancy, Vicky Lorenz, Wade Worthington, Zippy Davis. Anybody else? Whoops. Valerie Levine, Leopard City, Lepercita, Ginger Simmons, Charms, Janice Bolt, Crystal Logan. Anybody else? Diane Hilbert. Oh my God, there you are, Carl White. Hi, honey. Were you watching the live show tonight? Oh my God. Thank you, from the UK. Miller, Wayne Blackman. Oh, Wayne, it's been a while. Hey, Wayne, boo to you. It's been a long time. Maria Sandra Amador, Lisa Johnson. Anybody else want to shout out? We had a nice crowd tonight. Thank you so much. Natalie Flores. Para Princess Patricia. Aaron. Anybody else want to shout out? Hugs to everyone. And God, Christmas is coming up on us really fast. Oh, Carl White, 3:14 a.m. Bless your heart, honey. You're such a sweetheart to stay up and watch the show. Exist Alex, Misty Dawn, Yvette Sanchez. Anyway, don't forget on December 28th, oh my God, I'm so excited about the cases that we're going to present. They're really creepy cases. Bridget Harrison. No, we have 2 more shows. 2 more shows in December. Joy Fitch. Okay, guys, I'm going to go now. Thank you so much for being here. Please give the show a like, and please, don't forget to subscribe. Oh no, honey, the next show is December 14th. I have Jason Offit coming back on the 14th, and I didn't write down our topic, but he's written several, oh my God, fabulous books. So, 2 shows in December. All right, I'm going to go now. Good night. I love you. Group hug. Again, Royce Hinman, thank you so much. Our prayers, please send your prayers to Royce. He's been struggling medically, and he really needs our prayers. And I love my Royce. And I love all you guys as well. And I love my Carl White, who watches me without fail every Thursday when I have a show. At 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to say goodnight to you and have a wonderful weekend, okay? Thank you so much. I'll see you on December 14th. Thank you. Good night, everyone.